What really happens inside America's most dangerous maximum security prisons? Like, comment, subscribe, if you dare to step deeper into the walls where daylight ends and secrets never sleep. Inside the high desert of Colorado, past miles of sand, silence, and razor wire, sits the prison that journalists call the tomb. Officially, it is known as ADX Florence, the most secure federal penitentiary in the United States. But to the men who end up behind its reinforced steel doors, it is something else entirely, a place where the world forgets you exist, and where even your own thoughts become your only company. When investigative reporter Maya Collins received a confidential package on a quiet Tuesday morning, she didn't know that opening it would drag her into the darkest corners of America's maximum security system. Inside the envelope was a thin stack of documents, several hand-scribbled notes, and a single USB drive labeled only with a date. No sender. No address. Just a warning at the top, do not show this to anyone unless you're ready. The documents described daily operations at two of the most feared institutions in the country, ADX Florence and Pelican Bay. But someone had gone far beyond describing conditions. They named guards, detailed improper protocols, and documented moments that should never have escaped the prison walls. One memo in particular chilled Maya. Cell 13, inmate repeatedly reporting noises between walls. Claim dismissed. Officer notified, no action taken. Another note. Unauthorized movement between restricted corridors logged at 2:14 a.m. No officers on duty reported it. Camera footage missing. These weren't rumors. They weren't stories. These were logs written by someone on the inside. Someone who had access. Someone who had started to fear what they were seeing. Maya called the only person she trusted in situations like this, retired correctional investigator Daniel Ruiz. He arrived at her apartment within the hour, his face tightening as he looked through the documents. "These are internal," he muttered, tapping the page with his finger. "And whoever sent them, they're crossing a line that people have paid a price for crossing." He connected the USB drive to an isolated laptop, one that couldn't be traced. A series of video files popped open. Some were surveillance footage of empty hallways. Others showed cell blocks at night, inmates pacing in silence. But one file was different. A dark corridor. A timestamp. A camera that should have been still, slowly panning to the left even though no guard touched it. When the screen froze, the final frame showed a shadow standing near a sealed door. Not a ghost. Not a figure from imagination, a human silhouette in an area no inmate or officer should ever be able to reach. Daniel leaned closer. "This is restricted space. No one goes in. No one comes out." But the footage proved someone had. As Maya dug through the handwritten notes, one line suddenly connected all the dots. Every time the alarms trip at night, they blame the inmates. But it's not them. It's someone with keys no one wants to talk about. Someone was moving through the most secure prison in America, unnoticed. Someone with access, authority, and a reason to stay hidden. And if the person who sent this information was caught, the consequences inside a place like ADX Florence or Pelican Bay would be immediate and irreversible. The last page of notes felt like a plea. "If anything happens to me, check the storage room beneath Administrative Block C." They hid everything there. Maya felt her stomach drop. Block C wasn't mentioned anywhere in the public blueprints. And according to Daniel, only a handful of top-level personnel even had clearance to that wing. He looked up, his voice low. If that room exists, then someone's been running an operation no one is supposed to know about. But they weren't prepared for what happened next. As Daniel flipped the page over, a final, deeply carved message waited at the bottom, messy, rushed, and clearly written moments before the sender risked everything. "Don't open the basement door without backup. What they're hiding down there changed everything." The next morning, Maya and Daniel drove toward Florence, Colorado, the roads long and empty, the air colder than it should have been for late summer. Maya kept replaying the last message in her mind, "Don't open the basement door without backup." Whoever sent those notes wasn't paranoid. They were terrified. And the kind of fear that grows inside a place like ADX Florence isn't ordinary. It's earned. Daniel wasn't a man shaken easily. He had spent 2 decades investigating internal prison misconduct, riots, corrupt officers, smuggling rings. But the tension in his jaw told Maya that he recognized something dangerous here, something that went beyond protocol violations. If someone inside a supermax is running a hidden operation, he said quietly, they're not doing it alone. These places don't work that way. They had arranged to meet with a former officer named Leonard Briggs, who had resigned suddenly 5 years earlier and never spoke publicly about why. He lived alone in a rundown trailer on the outskirts of Fremont County, looking like a man who avoided the world more than the world avoided him. When he opened the door, the first thing he said was, "I shouldn't be talking to you. Not about that place." But the moment Daniel placed the printed documents in front of him, especially the note about cell 13, Leonard froze. His hands trembled slightly. He didn't look scared, he looked haunted. "I knew him," Briggs whispered. "The inmate from cell 13. He filed reports 3 times before he disappeared." "Disappeared?" Maya repeated. Briggs nodded once, slow and pained. "One night he was there. Next morning, his cell was clean. Files updated. Transfer order signed by someone I'd never seen before. Except," he exhaled sharply. "There was no transport that night." Daniel leaned forward. "So where did he go?" Briggs didn't answer immediately. Instead, he walked to a drawer and pulled out an old key card, scratched, deactivated, but still labeled, Administrative Block C. "I only used it once," he said. "And only because a supervisor ordered me to leave a package outside the basement door. I wasn't allowed inside." "No one was." Maya exchanged a look with Daniel. "The basement. The same place the anonymous sender warned about." "What was in the package?" she asked. Briggs shook his head. "I didn't open it. But the weight, the shape. I didn't like it." He paused, eyes distant. "I heard voices behind the door. Low. Calm. Too calm. Like a meeting. But the door was unlisted, no cameras, nothing tied to the building plans." Daniel's voice hardened. "A black site. Inside a federal prison." Briggs swallowed. "You didn't hear that from me. And I never went back." Before Maya could ask more, Briggs's old flip phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and the color drained from his face. He shut the phone instantly and stepped back from the table. "I can't help you anymore," he whispered. "Somebody knows you're here." A car engine revved outside. Not loudly, but intentionally, like someone wanted it to be heard. Daniel peeked through the blinds. A dark SUV sat parked down the dirt road, tinted windows reflecting nothing. "No plates. We need to go." "Now," Daniel muttered. As they left Briggs's trailer, Maya looked back. Briggs stood in the doorway, pale and expressionless, as if preparing for something he'd been avoiding for years. The SUV didn't follow them immediately. It just stayed there, watching. Waiting. 10 miles down the road, a message pinged on the isolated laptop in their back seat, even though it wasn't connected to any known network. A single line appeared across the screen. "You're looking in the wrong place. Block C isn't the secret. The real problem is beneath it." Maya felt cold spread through her chest. Someone was following their investigation in real time. Someone with access none of them understood. But the final message was worse. "If you want the truth, check the logs from the night cell 13 went quiet. Start with the missing officer." The drive back toward Florence felt different now, heavier, sharper, as if the desert itself knew they were getting close to something no one should uncover. Maya replayed the final message on the laptop. "Check the logs from the night cell 13 went quiet. Start with the missing officer." It wasn't just a clue. It was a warning wrapped in a breadcrumb. Daniel made a call to an old contact still working in the bureau. After a tense few minutes, he hung up, eyes narrowed. There was a missing officer that night. Officer Raymond Hale. Logged in at 2 o'clock. Never logged out. The official record says he resigned the next morning. Resigned? Maya pressed. Daniel nodded. Except his badge was never turned in. And his bank account hasn't moved in 5 years. Someone hadn't resigned. Someone had vanished. By the time they reached Florence, the sun was lowering behind the Rockies, casting long shadows across the vast expanse of the supermax. Tower lights flicked on one by one, slicing the desert in cold white beams. Even from a distance, the place felt like it swallowed sound. They parked in an access lot, and Daniel retrieved a file his contact had anonymously dropped off, Hale's final shift logs. Maya flipped through the pages, and one detail froze her. 2:14 a.m., Hale reports movement near Administrative Block C, dispatch response, already handled. But there were no other logs. No camera footage. No report from any other officer. The entire record from 2:15 to 3 o'clock was wiped clean. What happened to him? Maya whispered. Daniel pointed to a final line on a separate sheet. Unscheduled access registered at sub-basement level. No clearance detected. Maya's heartbeat thumped in her ears. Sub-basement? Briggs said the basement in Block C was off-limits. But below that? Daniel slipped his jacket on. There's only one way to know. They approached a maintenance path near the staff parking lot. Daniel used Briggs's old key card. It shouldn't have worked. It shouldn't have even beeped. But the light turned green. The door slid open with a low hydraulic hiss. Inside was a narrow stairwell, steep and metallic, descending into darkness. Cold air rose from below, not just from temperature, but something older, stale, untouched. As they reached the bottom, Maya saw the sealed door Briggs had described, thick, gray, unmarked. And next to it, something even stranger, a panel of lights, all red except one. A small green indicator blinking slowly, like a heartbeat. Daniel touched the door. It wasn't locked. It simply opened. What they saw inside wasn't a torture chamber, nor a secret lab. It was worse in a different way, quiet, clinical, and organized. A long corridor lined with small observation rooms. Each room held a desk, a chair, and binders, rows of binders. Documents. Files. Personal logs. Handwritten names. Dates. Internal monitoring program, Maya read from a folder. Psychological manipulation studies. Sensory experiments. Conducted on inmates from restricted units. Daniel exhaled sharply. This isn't criminal conspiracy. It's government-sanctioned research. They've been using inmates as data, stress responses, isolation endurance, behavioral shifts. Maya opened a second binder. Her breath caught. Cell 13, subject terminated due to psychological collapse after unauthorized exposure to adjacent stimulus source. Officer on duty, Art Hale. Status, unresolved. He didn't disappear, Maya whispered. He saw something. Something he wasn't supposed to. A sudden metallic click echoed behind them. They turned. The door they came through was closing, not shutting, but locking. And for a moment, Maya thought they were trapped. But then a shadow stepped into view. A man, older, uniformed, with a badge that hadn't been issued in years. Officer Raymond Hale. His voice was steady, almost peaceful. I tried to stop it. I tried to warn someone. But once you're marked as a loose end in this place, you vanish. Daniel took a step forward. Hale, what's happening here? Hale looked at the binders, then at them. What happens in a supermax stays buried. Not because it's evil, but because it's useful. He pointed to the files. If you walk out with this, you will expose a machine bigger than prisons, bigger than the Bureau. Are you ready for that? Before Maya could answer, Hale pressed a switch on the wall. The door unlocked. Take the evidence. Leave now. Before someone else realizes you're here. They fled the sub-basement, clutching the documents. As they emerged into the night air, sirens began echoing across the yard, not loud, but triggered somewhere deep inside the administrative system. Someone knew. Someone saw. 3 weeks later, an anonymous leak hit multiple newsrooms. Files. Logs. Data. But the documents released were incomplete, missing the most important pages. The pages Daniel and Maya still kept hidden. Because right after the leak, a new report surfaced. A second officer, walking the night shift at ADX, mysteriously disappeared, with no record of ever entering the building. And at the bottom of a new anonymous note sent to Maya was a single line. They think the truth is buried. But it's still moving. If you think this story was intense, you're not ready for what comes next. Stay close. More secrets are waiting.